stand by, Katie. I want to bring in the great Glenn Kirschner is joining us. Glenn Kirschner is an American attorney, former U.S. Army prosecutor, and a former assistant U.S. attorney in the Office of the United States, attorney for the District of Columbia, and a former NBC News, MSNBC legal analyst. Welcome to the program. First to Katie, and then I'll get your response. Katie, should he just come out and say, do you think Donald Trump had a hit out? You know what I'm saying? That's what it sounded like to me. He was trying to ask. I don't know.
It just goes how it's so, and hi to Glenn Kirschner, one of my favorite people. Look, it just goes to show how absolutely inartful the questions were. It's like you could have picked anybody off the street and been like, hey, this is Ghislaine. Ghislaine, this is Joe. Joe, go ahead and ask her some questions. There was no purpose. When you are a lawyer, you don't even have to be a prosecutor, but when you're a lawyer and you have this golden opportunity to be able to obtain information that hasn't been obtained in decades, why would you not actually just pointedly say, did this person do this? Or the way that you phrase the questions are really important too, right? But when she says, he didn't die by suicide. Well, heck, according to the DOJ itself, he died by suicide. So wouldn't you actually probe her and say, well, actually, Ms. Maxwell, we conducted an investigation where we looked at the video surveillance, allegedly, and even though it's been doctored and put together, and the video surveillance doesn't show anybody going in there. So you're actually wrong about that, aren't you? No, we're just going to take what she says as gospel. Thank you that we worshiped at the Church of Ghislaine Maxwell and then walk away with it because it's self-serving to help Donald Trump.
Glenn?
So, Don, this whole thing is a charade. It is an exercise designed to exonerate and protect Donald Trump. I wouldn't expect for a minute that Todd Blanche, who was Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney, and as Katie well knows, he now is the keeper of Donald Trump's criminal secrets that he came into during that representation, and he is duty-bound to continue to protect Donald Trump's criminal secrets because that attorney-client privilege survives the termination of the attorney-client relationship. There was only one person who should have been in that cell or that secure interview room interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell. That is Maureen Comey. She was the lead prosecutor on the case. She is the one who would know instantly whether Ghislaine Maxwell was telling the truth or lying about anything because she's the one familiar with all of the evidence. I have only heard just a little snippet of it. I actually just finished my daily video on the John Bolton search warrants of all things.
We'll get to that, Glenn.
Yeah, and that was a distraction from the Trump Epstein Maxwell scandal. But this whole thing is a charade. Nothing Ghislaine Maxwell says or declines to say should be credited at all.
What do you think, Glenn, he was trying to get at that question? Because I was saying, just come out and ask her why are you beating around the bush?
Yeah, what was the question? You've got to read me in a little bit.
No, I want you to hear. I want to just play a little bit of the interview. I mean, a little bit of what we just played, because I want Glenn to hear it again. Let's hear it.
So you think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by suicide. No.
And do you believe that? Do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
And I ask that because if you don't believe that there's any truth to the allegations of blackmail or that he had kind of a list or that he had reasons to have people hate him, why would somebody kill him in prison?
In prison, where I am, they will kill you, or they will pay, somebody can pay a prisoner to kill you for $25 worth of commissary. There's about the going rate for a hit with a lock today.
So that goes to the third reason, which is kind of the mismanagement.
This is it, Glenn. This is it, Glenn.
The shortfallings or shortcomings of the Bureau of Prisons.
Yes.
Which is a little bit different than my question is, which is, do you think there's somebody on the outside of prison? So putting aside what could happen on the inside, on the outside of prison, who wanted him dead so badly that he would have, or she would have, caused him to be killed on the inside.
I think I don't see that. I think, is
Okay.
it possible? Of course it's possible, but I don't
Okay,
know of any reason
Glenn.
why.
What is he trying to get at there?
This is a meandering mess of a custodial interrogation just based on the little clip I heard. I don't know what he's trying to get at, and I question the tactical wisdom of asking a witness who has already said, I don't know. He's like, well, can you speculate? Not really. What about somebody on the outside? I've already said I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into the questions, but what I would offer is that this is a horrible way to go about questioning a witness. And, I don't know what his background, his training, his experience is, but, I will fall back on this whole thing is ultimately an exercise in staying away from the danger zone, anything that could perhaps come back to haunt Donald Trump.
Hey,
Is there
Don,
any? Yeah, go ahead, Katie.
sorry, if the viewers can see on the screen, if you look at line 10 right there, so that's how you read the transcript, right? So it's the page and it's the line. So you see line 10, 11. Do you have any speculation or view of who killed him? Answer, Ghislaine Maxwell, no, I don't. Let me tell you something, Dawn. Lawyer 101, when we teach trial skills, and Glenn knows this, doesn't make a difference if you're a civil lawyer or criminal lawyer. That would have been an objection in court. Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation. Speculation is it could have been Santa Claus that came in and killed Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody wants to hear that. And what he's trying to do is he was struggling, Dawn, to lead her down the primrose path for her to say, absolutely not. The guy, died because nobody else would ever want to kill him from externally. But she didn't get it because she's just too dumb to get that point. And so he just kept on trying, and it just kept on getting more and more mangled, to Glenn's point.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where he was going there. I'm like, is he trying to ask her? Is he trying to get her to exonerate the Donald Trump? Because what Jeffrey Epstein's brother has been saying, that he believes it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities that Donald Trump, this is according to him, not me, this is what he said publicly, that Donald Trump had something to do with it. And if he is sitting there, if Todd Blanche has seen the Epstein files, so I would imagine he knows what's in the Epstein files. So I'm just wondering if he's trying to get her to say something that exonerates Trump, or I don't know, for some reason, because I don't know what the reason is, but something tells me there's something in there that they know that they don't ever want to release, and they somehow want what she says to become the record. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let me just say, and first of all, I'm so happy to be with my friend and former on-air MSNBC partner at 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, real primetime viewing there. But Katie and I used to double team on the justice front, and it was such great fun. But listen, speculation, Don, is poison to a good professional law enforcement investigation and prosecution. Do you know the first thing I do when I sit down with somebody that I am going to debrief? I said, don't speculate about anything. And don't only tell me what you think I want to hear because you think it will make me happy or it will forward the investigative ball against somebody I'm prosecuting, because I need the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you don't give it to me, there's going to be hell to pay. Don't lie and don't speculate. This is a buffoonish little clip of questioning that we're hearing. And, Jeffrey Epstein's brother's speculation, frankly, is no better than Ghislaine Maxwell's speculation or anybody else's speculation. Law enforcement, both FBI and DOJ prosecutors, we deal in fact. We deal in what we can prove. We don't start asking witnesses to speculate about stuff.
This is the one about, is there a black book? Is there a black book or a list of people who are, the Jeffrey Epstein list, as they say? Here it is.
During the time that you were with Mr. Epstein, and even in the 2000s when you were around less frequently, you never observed or you never saw any sort of list or black book or a list of individuals who linked to certain masseuses or
Absolutely
anything
no.
like that?
Absolutely no.
There is no list.
There is no list. Glenn, why are you laughing?
Because I'm going to go back to Katie's point from a few minutes ago. I just heard Todd Blanche say, "You never saw a black book, did you?"
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a leading question. You are signaling the answer you're looking for, and she gave it to him. Mind you, she was indicted on 2 counts of perjury previously for protecting Jeffrey Epstein and herself. You think she's not going to protect Donald Trump and anybody else? Don, the reporting is there were more than 1,000 children, young girls, abused by Maxwell and Epstein, but there were no clients, there were no Johns, there was no one else involved in abusing these young girls that, Maxwell found and groomed and handed over to Epstein to be sexually assaulted and abused. And we all know, we have heard the reporting about Maxwell being a hands-on perpetrator herself. Come on now. And then Todd Blanche is feeding her the answers she wants. You never saw a black book, did you? You ask open-ended questions. You don't suggest the answer you're looking for.
Yeah. Katie, what do you think? There is no black book. There is no list, but there are names that she can give.
Of course there are. And that's why the Epstein files, look, when we're dealing with evidence in the legal sense, and even just in the common parlance of senses, when we're looking at evidence, we want to go to the source documents, right? So if somebody says, I've got 10 grand in the bank, what are you going to ask for, Don? Let me see your bank statements, right? Same thing here. If you go to the Epstein files proper themselves, that's going to be the source documents upon which allegedly Ghislaine Maxwell is relying upon, right? But here's the thing. Throughout the entirety of this meeting and interview, and I don't even call it an interview, it's really, like I said, they're just hanging out together. She never implicates herself in anything. Isn't that so convenient?
Yeah.
And the reason why we know this whole thing is a charade, and I love that word that Glenn uses, is the following. I'm going to go to the very beginning of this meeting that they had. And at the beginning, Todd Blanche makes it clear that she has been given immunity. But then he says to her, there is an exception, the most meaningful one of which is if you say something today that's not true, that's a lie, we can bring a prosecution against you for what's called false statements. I'm a federal officer. I have several officers here. The FBI is here. It's a crime, so you have to be truthful. We know for a fact that this woman has lied in this meeting. Where are the charges against her? Where are the charges? She lied. So any type of immunity she was given should have been blown out the window, and she lied. She's not being prosecuted for it. You and I both know you sneeze wrong these days, this administration goes after you. You look at somebody cross-eyed and they'll kidnap you, right? Off the streets. So where is the prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell for violating the terms of her immunity deal that she had with the DOJ? It's because this was performative. There was no substantive value for this whatsoever.
Yeah, except to distract the public.
And Don, can I add that Prosecution 101, I've sat down with more aspiring cooperating witnesses than I could ever count. That was my stock and trade. I actually loved working with cooperating witnesses as a career prosecutor because they were my de facto expert witnesses on crime. They were living that life, and I had to impress upon them to tell me the truth, and then I would try to use them against bigger criminal fish. Here's the first thing you do with anybody in Ghislaine Maxwell's situation when you're sitting down to debrief her or do sometimes what we call a reverse proffer. I say the first thing you have to do is admit to all of your own crimes to me right here, right now. Because if you can't accept responsibility for your own crimes, I can't believe you on what you say about anybody else, whether you incriminate them or exonerate them. First, you have to fess up, and that will be a indication that you are really willing to tell the truth. And Don, that shouldn't have been a heavy lift for Ghislaine Maxwell because she's already convicted of these crimes. She could have easily said, okay, I did the things that a jury found beyond a reasonable doubt unanimously that I did. But if you don't fess up to your own crimes, you are dead to me as a potential cooperating witness, because I will not believe anything you say about the crimes of others.
Okay, here's the thing that they wanted. Todd Blanche asking her about Donald Trump and anything that might be inappropriate behavior that she witnessed. Here it is.
I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
How does that in and of itself not discredit her testimony? Just that, first of all, she refers to him as the president, Don.
Right, right.
Okay. That honorific, that title suggests a level of respect that she has for him. In fact, she spends a lot of time talking about how much she likes and admires him for what he's accomplished. She has such a bias that she would be laughed out of court if she was trying to be presented as a witness. But what do you mean you didn't see him do anything inappropriate in front of you? I don't know. Could he even be doing shit that was inappropriate behind a closed door that you weren't in? Of course he could, right? The reality is it could be any of them. She not only deals with Trump, she talks about Prince Andrew not doing anything wrong. She says Alan Dershowitz didn't do anything wrong. Look, I'm not saying they did. I'm not saying they didn't. How about we actually look at the Epstein files that is a part of the law enforcement's in Donald Trump's DOJ's care, custody, and control and possession. Why don't we look at that and make a decision on our own? Why is this woman the only filter right now that is being provided to the American people about what's contained or what is the history that surrounds the horrific acts of child sex predation, child sex trafficking, child sex abuse that she was convicted for and that Epstein was indicted for?
And Don, if I can ask, what is inappropriate behavior to somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell, who recruits, grooms, and sexually assaults children and gives those children to Jeffrey Epstein to sexually assault? You're going to ask her, did you ever see Trump do anything inappropriate? I mean, I would have to nail her down and say, you know, Ms. Maxwell, in your opinion, is it inappropriate to recruit, groom, and sexually assault young women? Because that's what you did. You're convicted of doing. You don't ask questions like, you know, what does a witness believe subjectively is appropriate, is not appropriate? I mean, again, this is just, this isn't even an interrogation. It's like a chat between a couple of, you know, acquaintances.
Here is the president now, Donald Trump, today, speaking out about this Epstein stuff being released. Here it is.
Your Justice Department is also sending some of the Epstein files over to the House Oversight Committee today. Are you in support of them releasing all of them?
I'm in support of keeping it open.
If they
Innocent people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that it could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. You know, people, because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months in the history of the presidency.
Oh, God.
And the Democrats don't know what to do, so they keep bringing up that stuff. But it affected them. Bill Clinton.
This is, I want you guys to pay close attention to this, because this reeks of hypocrisy and just disingenuity. He says, I don't want to hurt these people, but yet he brings them up and he mentions them, right? Keep going.
Bill Clinton was on his plane and went to the island supposedly 28 times. I don't want to bring that up. You have Larry, whatever his name is.
Did he not just bring it up? Did he not just bring it up?
I don't want to bring up the thing I just brought up.
I just brought up. Okay, keep going.
The head of Harvard, who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. Nobody ever talks about that. I mean, but I don't want to hurt Larry Summers. He was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. No, this is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They say it's #1 in history. Yeah. What we've done, including stop.
No one has ever seen anything like rounding up people on the streets without due process, defying federal judges, laying off career people, brain draining our institutions of decades and decades of knowledge and historic information. No one has seen anything like this. Just people, the lies that come out of this administration. So yeah, he's right about that one thing. Sorry, I had to just say, go on.
7 wars. I mean, just include that.
He's
How
just
many? How
7
many
wars, he says now. It
Seven?
was, I think it was 6, then it was 7, it was 8, and I think it was 10 one day. Anyways, go on. You guys have the floor.
I want to highlight something here, and I think Glenn, you would.
Katie's like, I don't even want to talk about what
I just cannot. You know what it is, Don? You know what's triggering me right now is that fucking hat. I want to take that fucking hat and shove it down his throat. Okay, so here's the thing. In the transcript, Ghislaine Maxwell admits that she has, quote, slow cognition issues. Okay. Now, when you are dealing with witnesses, and Glenn dealing with flip co-defendants and all this other stuff, right? People who turn state witness or turn government, right? If somebody admittedly has slow cognition issues, we're going to have to pump the brakes now and talk about the value of this person. Why? Because what is your ability to recall, Miss Maxwell? What's your ability to be able to remember? What's your ability to be able to process? I mean, she, by her own admission, has these slow cognition issues, 1, and then 2, but she conveniently knows that she's square. Jeffrey Epstein has erectile dysfunction, and she was happy not to have sex because she has a condition that made it okay for her not to have sex. It is the most ridiculous thing. So Epstein couldn't have perpetrated crimes because he had erectile dysfunction. And by the way, I didn't have to have sex, which means I, of course, would never be a child sex predator myself or a child sex abuser. And by the way, nobody did anything wrong ever. The most insulting thing about the Department of Justice is how it continues to perpetuate a lack of respect for the victims, not just the Epstein-Maxwell victims, but all victims of sexual assault, the survivors. Because how can you dare let this woman say that people have lied? People who have taken their lives, that they were liars? She said they all lied. She called them liars, Dawn. And that is disgusting, that the only thing that has come out of this Department of Justice has been a memo of lies from July 6th, where they said there's nothing here, so we're not giving you anything. And now we're giving you transcripts that have been redacted. And you thought you were doing them a favor by redacting their names, but then you let this woman have audio and written transcripts that say that these victims all lied? It just goes to show how much this administration is willing to debase itself in furtherance of its dear cult leader. And Trump standing there saying, I don't have a problem with it. Then let it out, asshole. But he won't. And if he does, it's going to be in a form that is going to be all disjointed. And Comer's going to sit there, and he's already decided to whitewash it himself as well. It is such a travesty of justice. And the fact that it comes from the Department of Justice is the worst pill to swallow.
And there's a pattern here, Don, because I know we're going to talk about maybe the transcripts, the grand jury transcripts in both the Epstein and Maxwell cases. And we have 3 federal judges not only shooting down Pam Bondi's motion to unseal those transcripts, but saying some variation of, look, Pam, you all are engaged in a diversion. You are saying that there's something in these transcripts that would be new or enlightening when you know full well.
There's nothing.
The only transcript.
Release them, right? Don't they know full well that they aren't going to release them, Glenn?
Yeah, of course they do. They make these motions as a show. Do you really think? Because Pam Bondi would have read that transcript forward and backward, 70 pages, one grand jury transcript in the Epstein investigation in New York. It was an FBI agent relating nothing but hearsay. Not a single witness, not a single victim appeared before the grand jury. And the judge said, there's nothing in here that is not already known to the public as a result of the Maxwell trial. So stop making, and I think one of the phrases was, false, misleading arguments to the court, and stop, Judge Engelmayer said, trying to give the illusion of transparency when all you're doing is trying to divert the public attention away from from the Epstein files, which Judge Berman, the last judge, said, you, DOJ, have the authority and you promised to release these things publicly. I mean, this whole thing it's a cover-up start to finish. Massive, massive cover-up by Trump, by his flunkies at the Department of Justice, by his enablers in Congress, and it's gross, it's obscene, and as Katie said, it's all being done in disrespect of the victims of these crimes.
Yeah,
it's tough to fathom.
One more thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and then we're going to move on to John Bolton and the raid on his home today. But since you said what you just said, Glenn, I want to play. This is from George Conway, who was on CNN today.
I wonder, George, what you make of the way that Trump has handled this, specifically today in the Oval Office during this press availability. He was asked about the release of these files, and he said that there would probably be a lot of names in them that wouldn't deserve to be. He mentioned Bill Clinton by name. He mentioned Larry Summers by name as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real question is, was the release of this, were the selection of these documents selective? And that's the question. I mean, are they withholding documents that might refer to him or things that are embarrassing to him, and producing documents that refer to other people in order to distract? And I wouldn't put it past them that they would do that.
Would you? No?
Listen, they're not going to release the good stuff. They're not going to release the incriminating stuff. And there are no checks on what Pam Bondi directs her dirty DOJ officials to disclose or withhold. The criminals are in control right now. There are no checks on prosecutorial abuse and misconduct. So unless there's a FOIA request, and there is a FOIA lawsuit that has been filed, Judge Chutkan has caught the assignment. And, let's hope that can put some pressure from the co-equal branch of government that is still fighting to protect we the people from an abusive and criminal president of the United States, the judiciary. Maybe that will, manage to wrestle free some of the actual and complete files.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.